After almost 50 years on the Upper East Side, the Whitney Museum of American Art has a new address. It's moving back to Lower Manhattan.
It's a huge deal, just in terms of the size that we have now and the availability of the collection to so many more people.
The new Whitney sits at the end of the High Line, a park that gets nearly 5 million visitors a year.
We're not worried that it's going to be empty and you're going to be able to wander through the galleries alone. We worry more that it's going to be packed and we have to figure out how you're going to have a wonderful experience in the galleries.
The Whitney wanted to expand for decades. Over the last 25 years, there were 3 plans to add on to its old home on Madison Avenue.
What was it about this plan, do you think, that made it appealing to you and other members of the board?
The director, I think Adam Weinberg, the Alice Pratt Brown director of the Whitney, is a true visionary, and he made this happen.
Weinberg had his work cut out for him.
About 7 years ago is when we began, and it was actually a bit more protracted process than we would have hoped, because just after we began, 2008 came with a financial crisis.
Yes, it's not a good time to raise money for a building.
We had raised a certain amount of money, but we basically put the project on a semi-pause at that time.
The economy started to recover, and in 2013, the board's former chairman, Leonard Lauder, gave the museum $130 million.
We wanted a building that felt large enough that we could do and expand our programs, show more of our collection, have more education programs, accommodate more visitors, but at the same time have a building and a sense of circulation that people would not feel lost or overwhelmed.
For museums, expansion is a tricky thing. MoMA continues to attract long lines of visitors years after it added more space. But the American Folk Art Museum couldn't afford the payments on its building, and ultimately it moved to a space 1/6 its former size. But the Whitney's director is not worried.
We have a very good financial model that should sustain this institution for the next 100 years.
Part of that model is finding new ways to make money.
I hardly know any museums anymore that don't rent some aspect of their spaces at some time. It's a necessity. We don't have, ongoing government support or ongoing income streams. You have to earn income.
A nonprofit art museum defines success differently. Weinberg says it can't be all about revenues and reviews. It's about who and what the museum has championed.
You have to look back 10 years and say, was the Whitney on it 10 years ago? Were they there with the right group of artists, the right ideas, the right thoughts?